Albert Park Circuit here in Melbourne, Australia for what I believe is the 5th round of the Monkey Mafia Esports League. So far, I'm sorry, I'm joining a bit late here at a LMP race on Gran Turismo 7 to get to, but if you've just joined us, you'll know that Lancey has gone back to back the first 4 rounds of the season. And it has to be said, last time out at Silverstone was definitely, I think, the hardest race he's had to drive. Really had to earn that last win. So here we are, as Cynical just goes 118.566. So far, the fastest lap of the session over Gazboy's 118.602. That is a very good lap there from Gazboy, less than 4/100ths of a second off the pace. Only about 3.5 minutes into the session so far. Pretty good for being late, if you ask me. Once again, here we are at Albert Park. They have changed this circuit, very much so, over the past couple of years. Guilty there, but so Cynical has provisional pole at the moment, 118.566. Gazboy second, and it looks like Gazboy is going to be coming back in here very shortly. Let's go ahead and look at the drivers and constructor standings so far. Naturally, Lancey swept the first 4 rounds so far. He leads at 131. Fireballer second at 86. Shariah only a point behind at 85. Gab and Pingolo 4th and 5th, both McLaren drivers, 80 and 75 respectively. Cynical 73, Slayer Eyes 57, tied with Reimer at 57, Gazboy 54, Mini at 32, Mazda Guy at 30, Beamer and Palmer tied at 25, Ray 18, A-Dub 14, Monkey Mafia 9, Osmanian Devil 7, and Edwin 1. Those are the only drivers so far that have been able to get points on the board through the first 4 rounds of the season. As far as constructors are concerned, the McLarens still atop the table at 155, Ferrari 110, Aston Martin 104, Williams 95, Alpine 90, Alfa Romeo 87, 79 for Mercedes, 74 for Red Bull, 57 for Haas, and AlphaTauri at the lone 7 points. Shariah Coleslaw on an outlap here. He's been looking for a good result recently. You know, I think he got halfway decently close to the last time round. We'll just look at the results page here. Shariah did finish P11. I know that was probably not the race he was hoping for necessarily, but always going to be capable of a good result, this guy. It's just a matter of when and where, and, you know, perhaps do we see that today? Because it has to be said, a lot of these drivers that I know of, Shariah being one of them, always very talented, very fun to watch. He's making his way in towards 13 and 14 to start another timed attempt here. We got 10 minutes and 10 seconds remaining. Next up on a time lap behind him, looks like it's going to be the Williams of Fireballer, perhaps. Yes, it is. Actually, he's going to be starting one here shortly. Shariah Coleslaw into the first corner here. Very tight first corner that opens quite wide through the second corner. And you got to be careful. You do tend to lose grip going from the switching between corners there. Turn 3, 135-degree right-hander, and Shariah has overshot the braking zone then. And is straight into the gravel. It's a hard braking zone to get to, especially when you're battling amongst other drivers. Sometimes you do typically make that mistake, and, well, that's what we've seen there from Shariah. Looks like Mini has invalidated this end next. And that is something else there. Let's go along with Beamer then. Still has yet to put in a timed attempt. Here he goes into the Sector 1 DRS zone here from Turn 2 all the way down to Turn 3. Nicely done over the curb there. Got to watch the throttle input through 4 and through 5 as well. Those outside curbs there, a little treacherous. And then that corner of Turn 5 always throws drivers for a loop, and you do tend to see a lot of oversteer through there. This is where the majority of the changes have gone. 6 and 7 have stayed the same, but now Turn 8 all the way through here, DRS activated now through this section of the track as well. This is something that they originally had thought out for this circuit, scrapped it after 2 practice sessions in 2022. And then out of Turn 10 and 11, the DRS zone that's still here, out of Turn 9 and 10, it was 10 and 11, it's 9 and 10 now, in towards Turn 11, 90-degree right-hander. Tricky corner to be had, not a lot of overtaking room, but still, if you get lucky on that opening lap, you might be able to put one. Into Turn 13, very tight and tricky left-hander. Gotta watch the throttle through 14, lots of drivers spin out through that corner. Beamer looks like he's on a pretty solid lap so far. To the line goes Beamer. P6, 119-117. Not bad at all. Finds himself within 9/10 of a second of our leader, of Reimer, at the moment. Reimer, has been on the cusp of good results recently. I think he's definitely proving that he can contend for wins. Hasn't gotten that ability just yet, or not ability so much as opportunity to contend for wins just yet. If we look at the results from last time out, he did finish second to Lancey in what I thought was his best attempt to win a race to that point, as it looks like just the Aston Martin of Ray. Something's happened with him. Sleigh Rise goes 118.660, improves by 0.2 of a second there, but Ray, I believe, has smacked the wall coming out of the final corner. This front wing is gone, and that's going to be a very unfortunate turn of events for Ray. Reimer's teammate of Lightwork, 117.719. If you remember Circuit of the Americas 2 weeks ago, well, if you're a fan of the Alpines, I'm sure you wouldn't want to be reminded of that, but it did happen. And at the moment, an Alpine 1-2 would be incredible, especially on a day. Lancey's not on this grid. This is the first time of the season Lancey has not participated. Cynical goes 117.679. So we are going to see our second ever winner in the Monkey Mafia Esports Series. By the way, Cynical only clears Lightwork then by 4/100ths of a second. That's a great lap from the both of them. This battle for pole is going to go down to the wire. Lightwork, I'm assuming, is not on a timed lap at this point in time. Sleigh Rise in the Alfa Romeo, does that say Purple Sector 2 then? Or was faster by about 1/10 and a bit. Well, he's going to go into the pits anyways, I'm not rightly sure. His teammate, a Mazda guy, is coming to the line now. He has gone 119.472, goes off track through turn 1, gets it back together. But I don't believe this is going to be a lap to hold on to here from the Mazda guy himself. Shariah Coleslaw now. Timed attempt for him, 6 minutes to go in the session. If you remember his last timed attempt, he went deep into the braking zone at turn 3 into the gravel off the track. Wow. Now he has invalidated there. But it has to be said, the back end of the car really wanted to come around on Shariah, and he was able to do a great job to save the car from that transition between turn 1 and 2. Unfortunately, the lap is all said and done, considering he has exceeded track limits somewhere along the line, but the fact that he was able to hold on to the car and live to fight another day is very good for him. Cynical's teammate of Edwin has just gone P3, finds himself 0.2 of a second shy of his teammate. Not bad at all, however. And Osmanian Devil has lost a front wing somewhere in that exchange. Not sure if Reimer's on a timed lap here or not. No, he's not. Slower by 1.5 seconds. So we have at the moment 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars out on track. Ooh, and I think Shariah gone for a spin coming out of turn 10. Yes, he has. Thankfully, he's got some clear track, but looks as if he's gone off where Carlos Sainz had gone off. I believe in 2022 that accident happened. But still very similar situations there. A couple of cars coming back out on track. Sleigh Rise, who's on an outlap, is cutting the grass once more. Gab on an outlap, and the Haas of Beamer, who I think Beamer still has something left in the tank here. He put together a good lap the first time, got himself within a second of pole, finds himself 1.4 behind. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's able to put himself in the top 5 here. It looks like Cynical and Lightwork coming back in, and Edwin's going to do the same here momentarily. AlphaTauri of Osmanian Devil, who is missing his front wing. He'll surely be coming in this time by. Next up is the Alfa Romeo of George Mazda guy, who I'm not sure is on a competitive lap here. We'll see when he gets to the timing line. No, he already has. He's on low fuel and low battery, so I'm going to point to no on that one, but we'll see when he comes around the line here. And yes, he's going to be on his way in. So, that means Beamer is going to be the next up on a timed attempt, who has invalidated his outlap. Hopefully for him, that's not this and next. That would be massively detrimental at this stage of the qualifying session. 4 cars out on track. Beamer begins what I would believe to be his final timed lap attempt as he makes his way in towards turn 1. Very nicely done there, 3 minutes and 20 seconds remaining. Maybe gets a little help of the Alpine in front of him, of Reimer. Perhaps a tow in towards turn 3. Nicely done. Oh, he's going to have to hold on there. Wow, and I tell you what, That was a very scrappy couple of corners there. He's lucky to have held on to the car. Although he's absolutely going to be slower, 0.5 of a second slower through this first attempt. If he gets it round back in time, I think maybe he'll have enough time to get one more. I'm not sure, though. If he maybe backs off now and conserves. But it looks like he's still going for it, which is slightly odd. I think only 7.75 of a second off of his best time at the moment. So with 2.5 minutes to go here, I would consider getting the brakes, recharging the battery, saving as much fuel as he can, and maybe giving it another go afterwards. But it looks like he's going to continue out the lap here. Edwin on track, Reimer on track, Fireballer on track. In fact, the next car around the line is going to be Reimer starting what I would assume to be his final time lap attempt. 2 minutes and 15 seconds remaining here. Cynical is going to be on his way out here shortly. So Beamer decides to stay out. He goes 1.5 slower than his previous attempt, but it looks like, does he have enough to get one going here? It looks like he's going to be going for it. He's not on low fuel. Under 2 minutes to go here. It's going to be make or break for the Haas. Now, this is where he pretty much lost the car last time. I think maybe did he have wheel spin on the exit curb of turn 3. That would have been my guess. He's very lucky to hold on to the car, and he's going to have to do the same this time. And he's going to have to back off because he's gone right through the grass then and 2 seconds slower through Sector 1. That, I believe, unfortunately for Beamer, is going to spell the end of his qualifying session. Slayrise has just gone P6. Not bad for him. Reimer making his way through in towards Sector 2 now. What has he got going? Faster by about 0.2 of a second. Not bad. Slips a little bit going through the turning phase, but not enough to really be worried about. DRS activated for the Alpine here. His teammate of Lightwork on an outlap himself. Through the flick of 9 and 10, he's purple Sector 2. 2.5 tenths quicker so far. 1 minute to go here. Looks like the Aston Martin of Ray Ray has just started another one, as well as perhaps is it George Mazda guy. And then next up is going to be the Haas of Beamer, who decides to stay out again. The Red Bull of Edwin, I believe, is going to be coming around to start one here. Yes, he is. Cynical, his teammate, making his way through Sector 3 at the moment. Reimer is going to be coming up to the line here shortly with looks to be a great lap. Reimer to the line, 1:17.867, over 3.5 tenths quicker, still only stays fourth. He is able to move within 0.2 of provisional pole, but not even rightly close to take it at the moment. 1.2 of a second. Still, it's not even enough to improve position. He's slower than Edwin, as Lightwork has retired. That is, where is that? Must be in the pits. I'm not rightly sure where else it would be. Edwin only ahead of Reimer by 0.8 of a second at the end of it. So now it's down to the two Red Bulls here. We have Cynical making his way in towards Sector 2 now. He's going to go, well, he's actually slower by 0.03 of a second. Edwin is slower by 0.06 of a second through Sector 2. So now, as Edwin makes his way in towards Sector 3, turn 11, and eventually 12. I mean, I don't know who else is still on a lap here, really. It looks like Mazda Guy's gone P9, Ray Ray's gone P8. Either that or his teammate of Gazboy has actually jumped up to P7, it looks. Moves within a second. Edwin coming to the line now. Has he been able to improve this final time? 1:17.530, improves by 3.5 tenths, takes provisional pole. His teammate making his way through Sector 3 now. That said, he was 1/10 of a second slower through Sector 2. Does Cynical have anything here? Through turn of 13 and 14 now. I don't know, it doesn't look as if he's going to be able to do it, but to the line goes Cynical. Across the line, he does do it. 1:17.510, improves by almost 0.2 of a second. Out-qualifies his teammate by 0.02 of a second. That is a very comfortable Red Bull front row lockout. They ought to be proud of that one. Reimer is going to be coming into the pits here. That will be the last driver currently on track for a timed attempt. It is a Red Bull front row lockout, an Alpine second row lockout here. And what is shaping up to be a great Australian Grand Prix. So your starting lineup then for the Australian Grand Prix. It is Cynical out-qualifying his teammate of Edwin by 2/100ths of a second. It's a Red Bull front row lockout, and it's a Alpine second row lockout. Lightwork takes third, Reimer takes fourth, Fireballer in the Williams in fifth, the Alfa Romeo of Slayer Eyes in sixth, Gazboy seventh, eighth is Shariah, ninth Gab, 10th is George Mastagai, Ray 11th, 12th is Beamer, 13th Osmanian Devil, 14th is Mini. Pingolo did have a qualifying ban for this round. So the top 13 within just about a second and a half. The top 5 within a second. The top 2, crucially, within 1/10. This is going to be one hell of a Grand Prix here. Stick with us. Well, it does happen to look like a bright and sunny day here in Melbourne. This track does sometimes get itself a little bit of rain. Although, for this point in time, it does look as if it will stay dry unless I get some sort of ping in Discord that says otherwise. So, just a reminder that, as it turns out, this is going to be the first round of the season that Lancey doesn't win, and it's not because he's not on track. Well, that's exactly why. It's because he's not out on track. It's not because he's not going to earn the win. It's just he's simply not here. So, tonight, we are going to be seeing our second ever winner here in Monkey Mafia Esports. The Lancey, again, having taken the first 4 rounds, some of them in commanding fashion, some of them not so much, particularly last week in Silverstone. But, either way, so far, I tell you what, I have been really impressed with the racing, especially last time out in Silverstone. Top 5 cars battling each other, was within about a second of each other for as long as I could really remember of that Grand Prix. It was great racing all the way around. Clean racing as well, only the one virtual safety car. And I'm hoping more or less of the same thing here. I would assume we're going to be getting to the formation lap here shortly. And yes, that's perfect timing, isn't it? Formation lap on the way. Lots of drivers choosing the hards. Well, nah, never mind. The kind of direction of the camera looked as if they were hards. They're actually mostly mediums. Top 4 on mediums. Fireballer in 5th on the softs. Slayer Eyes medium, Gazboy soft. Mazdaguy and Pingolo, the only 2 choosing the hards, which again I think might be slightly a mistake, because if we do get the early safety car, they're not going to be able to. I mean, everybody else would have wanted to, perhaps take the hard tires and see how long they can go. So, we've seen one pair of teammates, particularly these two, get together in Austin. They find each other lined up side by side on the grid, as well as the 2 Red Bulls ahead of them. Red Bull could use a good result here. They've got some work to do in the constructors. Eyes are going to be on McLaren today. Not the best qualifying result for Gab. And his teammate of Pingolo did have the he did have the qualifying ban. Red Bull here have a very much ability to make up a lot of points. 14-19, that's going to be your predicted race strategy according to the game. And as the grid make their way out of turn 10, I think my eyes are going to be on Fireballer here. He's been, kind of on the brink of having a brilliant result time and time again. Hasn't really been able to manage giving himself that, great result. Let's see if Fireballer can do something here. He's on the softs. Off the immediate start, he's really going to be at the advantage. We'll have to wait and see. I'm not sure how long the degradation is between the softs and the mediums. We did see a couple of times in quali that drivers were able to make more than one timed lap run on the softs, so maybe they'll last a little bit longer. Remember, 4 DRS zones on this track, so overtaking aplenty, most likely. We'll have to wait and see. So, My prediction, Great Wall of Red Bull off the start here. Lightwork's going to be jammed up next to his teammate Reimer. It's going to be all for Fireballer to have here, considering he's the only one in the top 5 that doesn't have a teammate next to him. He is free to attack. Yeah, it looks like Beamer and Mini don't get to the grid boxes correctly, so lights are going to be turning on here. Eventually. At some point. Hopefully. Still nothing. There we go. Lights turning on here in Australia. We have 4 and eventually 5. And for the 5th time in the Monkey Mafia Esports Series, they are underway. This time in Australia, and it looks as if, do the Red Bulls get away well? Yes, they do. Lightwork's going to try to switch back and forth to try to get around Edwin as they go into turn 1. It looks as if everything's going to stay clean. It looks like Reimer has not had a good start. Fireballer was able to overtake the Alpine, as well as the Aston Martin of Gasboy. Cynical has stayed ahead of his teammate of Edwin, and that will leave Lightwork to try and get himself around the pair of Red Bulls here. Looks like Reimer has gotten around Gasboy once more. They were side by side, going through the 5th corner then. Very dangerous spot of the track to go side by side, but it looks like they've made it out all okay. Osmanian Devil and Gab switching positions there. It looks like Gab has had a very poor start, down 4 positions, but at the moment it is still the Red Bulls atop. Lightwork is held on to 3rd. Fireballer on the attack here. Again, he's on the softs. This is what we expected, although I'm not sure, did Reimer just get a poor start, and that's the reason why he's dropped back. He's now currently a 2.5 seconds behind Fireballer, as now he's under pressure from Gasboy. Gasboy's going to try it around the left side. On the softs, he may have an easier time here. No, Reimer has done very well to defend. Those soft tires, how long are they going to be? The better tire is going to be a huge thing to look out for here. But leading the first lap of the Grand Prix will be Cynical as he comes to the line here. His teammate Edwin not all that far behind, 1/4 second or less. And I'm assuming Edwin isn't going to try all too hard to get around his teammate here. I think it's more or less just going to be a battle of, you know, staying in good pace. Gasboy, I think something has gone wrong with him. He's lost spots to both Reimer, Shariah, and now Slayer Eyes. Are going to be side by side into turn 3. Mini has retired coming out of turn 2. Yellow flag all across the circuit. I'm assuming it's just virtual safety car for now. Yes, virtual safety car out on track. As Mini perhaps has the back end gotten around of him coming out of turn 2. And that is the first bit of trouble today. I think as long as the 2 Red Bulls here can work together, they'll do quite well, despite having this gap between them. They have managed to put, well, that was about 2 seconds not long ago. I think with the deltas, it's going to be a little bit more odd. Soft to mediums, that said 12 to 14 laps. So maybe it's degradation not that much, and we will be seeing some of these drivers on the softs make some moves here. Lightwork, I think, really got a good jump on the end of the virtual safety car there. Edwin did not, and now is under pressure from the Alpine driver here. Reimer seems to have fallen back just a little bit. Of Fireballer is now outside of a second on the Williams driver as they make their way down the pit straight in towards turn 1. DRS is going to be enabled. Remember, 4 DRS zones on this track. I'm thinking overtaking will be coming aplenty here. DRS activated. Actually, no, not activated for the Red Bull here. Not sure why that was. Lightwork doing his best, but I think Lightwork knows he's going to have a difficult time getting around 2 teammates here, so I think he's just going to try to play it chill, try to put down some consistent laps, maybe wait for one of them to make a mistake, and that's going to be his time to strike. He knows it's going to be a difficult battle up against both of them, never mind just one of them. DRS is enabled here for the Alpine driver as the 2 Red Bulls make their way round turn 8 in towards turns 9 and 10. That gap, by the way, under a 1/10 then, as Fireballer now really pressuring Lightwork here for the final spot on the podium. The 2 Red Bulls, are they trying to invert position ahead? Yes, they do. Edwin does get around Cynical, which at the moment looks like it was the right decision. Edwin was right on pace with his teammate through the entirety of the Grand Prix so far, so I think good calls by the Red Bull there to not necessarily battle his teammate. Both of them are good on pace. It is very equal. So I'm just thinking maybe, well, look at this. Edwin actually Slightly quicker than his teammate. He's got the fastest lap, 1:21.056. I think put about 0.2 of a second on his teammate there. He'll have DRS once more. Looks like George Mazda guy within a couple of tenths of Ray Ray for the 10th spot. Let's actually go check on that battle. Osmanian Devil in this battle as well. He's going to go look down the inside of George Mazda guy. Contact being made. Good effort from Osmanian Devil. Mazda guy having the inside line is going to be better off. And Mazda guy is going to retain position. It looks like both the McLarens have fallen drastically off the pace here. Remember, Pingolo had the qualifying ban to deal with. I think Gab just simply has not had a good start to this Grand Prix. Whoever gets the better exit out of the corner there. It looks like Gazboy's gotten around Shariah with the aid of DRS before turn 9. Tell you what, Lightwork is right on pace with these two. One mistake to be made by either of them, and Lightwork's going to have a fair shot for the lead of the race here. 0.3 of a second between himself and Cynical. Although it looked like Cynical had a little bit of a difficult time coming out of turn 11. Lightwork doing his best as he can. DRS activated again. It looks like Fireballer has fallen outside. Not just 1 second, but almost 2 seconds behind the Lightwork. I'm not rightly sure what's happened to him. Maybe are the soft tires really starting to wear away here? That could be the reality of the situation for Fireballer. It was going to be a risk starting on the soft tires. Really was a symptom of risk versus reward there, and the reward was only one position to the positive, so yeah, that wasn't, I don't know. Didn't seem like the best option to me. It looks like, has Gazboy gone off? Yes, he has. The Aston Martin facing the wrong, oh God! Oh, and that's going to make the Haas go off track. Several cars, oh, and that's another accident there. Well, Beamer lost the car trying to avoid Gazboy, who spun himself back onto the circuit. I think that would really have to go down as an unsafe rejoin, because he spun the car, and he's done it right into the racing line coming out of that 5th corner. That racing line is going to be up against that curb where he was. That has resulted in Beamer colliding with him. And I think lucky that neither of the two McLarens or George Mazda guy got involved. I think somebody made contact with him. I'm not quite sure who else it was. That could have been a red flag. Thankfully, the track stays green, and the only casualty there is that of Beamer. Through no fault of his own, I think he really just had to take evasive action. And the car got away from him. So that leaves Reimer within 0.6 of a second of Fireballer here, who, since the last time round, has lost another 1.5 seconds. Back to the 3 drivers ahead of him. Shariah Coleslaw will be under pressure from Sleigh Rise here. Sleigh Rise looks like as he just taken a trip through the gravel recently. You can see some dirt on the left front tire there. I think it's gone by now, but something has happened with Sleigh Rise. For now, though, he stays on track. Battle again, Reimer versus Fireballer. I think, honestly, at the moment, we're not going to see too much changing about in the top 3. I think the defending from Cynical, either that or Lightwork, I think is just going to have to be patient. In fact, Lightwork is now outside of 1.2 on the 2 Red Bulls ahead. The closest battle on track is Reimer to Fireballer here. Remember, according to the game, the soft said 14 to 15 or thereabouts. Kind of that same amount for the mediums as well, in fairness. And Fireballer's gotten away better out of the first corner that time. DRS will be enabled again for the Alpine. Not going to be close enough to have him move into turn 3. Thinking a couple of laps time is going to be best for Reimer here. It's going to be very tricky, because I think at the moment the Soft's still doing enough to be good enough to keep the Alpine behind. Either that or I think Reimer might be struggling for straight line speed. You could see Fireballer, at least in the straights, relatively unchallenged by the Alpine. It does happen to be anywhere else on the track that isn't on a straight line or coming out of turn 8. It does look as if the Alpine is the better car, but I think down the straights here, Fireballer's car may be just slightly better. But Reimer's set up slightly conservatively as far as speed is concerned. He wants a clean race. So look, acceleration again, we were within 0.3 of a second going in towards turn 11. It's now outside of 0.75 of a second as they make their way into turn 1. I'm assuming, yeah, I think Reimer maybe just has a little bit too much wing on that car. Looks like Mazda guy's gotten around on Manian Devil. Manian Devil, by the way, has a 5-second penalty for the collision with the deceased car of Beamer through no fault of his own. Of course, at his 5-second stop, that penalty will be gotten rid of. So, the pair of Red Bulls at the top have expanded themselves to almost 2 seconds now. In fact, there it is, 2 seconds. The gap from Cynical to Lightwork as well. I tell you what, it was about 2 seconds not long ago. Cynical has lost an extra second somewhere along the line, and that will put Lightwork in position. This is the mistake that Lightwork was hoping for. Cynical was just 2 seconds not long ago. Somewhere along the line, he's lost another 1.5 seconds. Reimer, oh, it looks like Fireballer's gone in. Yes, finally the softs. He's come to terms with him. He's going to probably, I would assume, fit the hards here. And yes, hards going on for the Williams of Fireballer. Again, Fireballer being one of those drivers, he does like to take some off strategy sometimes. He hasn't necessarily struck the jackpot on offset strategies that, you know, really work out. He demotes himself down to P12 at the moment. But does he think he can make it the rest of the way on those hards? It's going to be a big question, as it looks like Beamer, leaving this session here. 0.3 of a second in closing. Lightwork's going to try it round the outside in towards turn 9. Yes, he does. That was a gutsy place to make a move there, and he's going to get the double dose of DRS now, as the activation zone is prior to turn 8. So he gets the extra bit of DRS coming out of turn 10. Mind you, that's an extra, kilometer back down the road. That is a massive cheat code to be had. The Lightwork will take the second spot. Oh, yellow flag, and it is Gazboy has retired coming out of turn 5. He's lost the car a good ways down the track, and the safety car has decided to come out. I'm assuming that car would have to be kind of right in the middle of the circuit for the safety car to come out, because even Beamers looked like it was reasonable for the safety car, and it wasn't. As the masses flocked to pit behind the top 4. I'm assuming this is about where we saw the crash happen. But yeah, he lost that car well a ways down the straight, and there's not really much room on either side of the track. Yeah, that's a reasonable safety car if you ask me. So, looks as if, I tell you what, Fireballer and Slayerized here would have absolutely hit the jackpot, as well. Shariah has pit. He's come out P5, so again, the top 4 haven't, because they were ahead of the pit entry by the time the safety car came out. Shariah, Slayerized, and Fireballer here. I think they may be picking up some positions, perhaps. I'm not sure. Actually, if we look from... Sorry, can we look from leader on back? Yeah, it's about 34 seconds from the leader of Edwin to Shariah, so I think the safety car coming to the aid of Edwin here. He's not really going to lose anything. We'd have to assume hard tires for the top 4 here. Although a double stack for the Red Bulls is going to be slightly Actually, it's a double stack for both of them, isn't it? Because both Alpines and both Red Bulls are coming in. Hard tires naturally going on for the first two. Let's see what the second two decide to do. And those are going to be hard tires as well for Cynical. Reimer, I tell you what, Reimer really done double stack. Oh, it's front wing going on for Reimer, however. He must have missed something. I don't remember seeing an incident to where Reimer's wing change there would have been necessary. I'm not sure how that's happened, but he is going to end up losing the spot to Shiraya because of that wing change. But either way, it's a fairly decently worked out double stack there from both the Red Bulls and the Alpines. So, safety car will probably be making its way in a couple of laps' time, so I'll step aside until then. So the safety car will make its way in this lap. It looks like Mazdaguy and Pingolo have respectively pit for the medium tires. Slightly bold strategy, but we didn't see the mediums go to their very paces, so it might be valid. We'll have to wait and see. Pingolo and Gab, the two McLarens, are in need of a good day so far. They really have not had one. Edwin will lead light work. When we go back to green here, Shiraya has come out of the pits ahead of Reimer after Reimer attached a new front wing. Again, we missed why that's the case, but either way, it has happened. And that promotes the Ferrari of Shiraya to fourth. Remember, last time out, finished P11 in Silverstone. Looking for a good result today. Let's see what's going to happen, as we are edging closer towards halfway through the race here. Edwin will lead them round turn 14, and back to green flag we go. And it looks like he has gotten a decent jump on light work then. And that's Reimer trying to make his way down to the inside of Shiraya through the first corner. And he was about 100 meters not close enough then, as it looks like Fireballer and Slayer Eyes were side by side. One of them nearly got well out of shape. 4-car little block here as they head down towards turn 3. Fireballer on the outside of Slayer Eyes. It looks like Ray Ray's going to try to do it as well to the Alfa Romeo, and he does. Slayer Eyes losing, I believe, 2 spots there in one go, as Ray Ray has promoted himself over the Alfa Romeo as well. Lightwork has managed to get within 0.6 of a second of Edwin here, although still not close enough yet. Remember, no DRS for the time being. Look behind Slayer Eyes, trying to get around the outside of Ray Ray here as his teammate of Mazdaguy in pursuit as they go in towards 9 and 10. That's a dangerous corner to be side by side. They're going to go for it. Mazdaguy's going to at least get around his teammate. He may get both of them as Ray Ray hasn't had a good exit of turn 10. And wow, what a gutsy move there from George Mazdaguy, getting past his teammate and Ray Ray in one go. Very nicely done from George Mazdaguy, who promotes himself then to P7. Waited for his opportunity and took it when it happened. Very nicely done. Edwin has the fastest lap, 1:28.22. That's on the hards as well. Wow. You don't typically see fastest lap set on hards, but there we have. It looks like Ray Ray and Mazdaguy side by side, as Ray Ray has taken the spot back from the Alfa Romeo, as now it looks like his teammate maybe wants in this battle as well as Pingolo. Down in towards turn 3, Pingolo, I think, was really looking for it. Mazdaguy has gone through turn 3 and into the gravel, and he has lost a couple of spots there, and then picks up 3 seconds for multiple warnings as well. Very unfortunate for Mazdaguy, who had a really good maneuver last lap. Fortunately, it's all for naught. Battery being used for Pingolo here in the slipstream of Slayerized. Pingolo, does he promote himself to P8? He's looking for it down to the inside. He's on the medium tires as well. Yes, he does. Nicely done from Pingolo. Up to 8th for him. And perhaps on pace for the fastest lap so far. Purple Sector 2, but now Slayerized. He's going to want it around the left side. He's going to get it on the outside into turn 11. That's a great place. Wow. He has done that around the outside. Very unorthodox place to see a move be made. Very nicely done. And I'm sure that battle isn't over yet. Edwin 1:25.11. Fastest lap once more. Cynical trying to get in position of Lightwork, and Lightwork 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. And that has made Cynical's job so much more easier. I don't know how many warnings Cynical is on, but Lightwork, we do know, will now have the 3-second penalty to negate here. Speaking of Alpines, his teammate of Reimer. Oh, it looks like Fireballer has gone. Oh, and he's going to back right into traffic and 2 cars out of the Grand Prix. Safety car on track as Ray and Fireballer have come together there. Fireballer lost the end of the car coming out of turn 4, backed across the racing line, and took the Aston Martin with him. And the safety car will make another trek around the Albert Park circuit. That's the second time we've seen multiple cars DNF due to an unsafe rejoin of the circuit. Very unfortunate for Ray. Really just kind of caught in the crossfire. No fault of his own. Very unfortunate. But, oh, and I think we almost saw Edwin come in there. Was he going to think about putting on the mediums? I think Shariah is going to do that. Yes, Shariah, I think, is going to be pitting for the mediums here. So far, the only driver to do that. And yes, medium tires going on for the Ferrari. Pingolo is in as well. This is going to open up the alternate strategy here. They've made their mandatory stop. The top 4 haven't really capitalized on that. They think staying to the end on hards is going to be the move. Shariah has rather set a chain of events into action. 3 other cars pit after him. So Shariah is going to be relegated to P7, but I tell you what, when it goes back to green flag, he's going to have a huge advantage, I would think. Of course, the hards being 5-6 laps old already, they're not going to be that bad on wear, but I would assume the mediums are going to be a bit faster than the hards off the start here, especially fresh mediums to used cards as well. So Shariah taking the risk, taking the gamble. Could it pay out for him? We'll have to wait and see. So the safety car on its way in at the end of this lap. We have 10 drivers remaining of the initial 15 that started the race. Mini's DNF on his own. Beamer Blunt trying to avoid the Gaz Boy, who had spun off on his own. Both of those cars DNF'd, and again, Fireballer backing into traffic and collecting Ray with him. So unfortunately for the Aston Martin team and the Williams team and Haas, as well as Mercedes, no points will be scored for those teams. Edwin will lead Lightwork here to the green flag. Lightwork does have a 3-second time penalty to work around here. And once again, Edwin getting a big jump to the safety car restart here. We're going to be back under green flag. And yes, Edwin's really going to get a good jump now. Again, the question is going to be on Shariah. How is he a second and a half behind Gab? What has happened with Shariah? Well, he's on the mediums. The 4 drivers behind him are also on the mediums. He was the only driver, at first to come in and try the alternate strategy, and that's what set the chain reaction into effect. The top 6 have decided to stay out on the hards. Doesn't look like they're struggling with them, so, give or take the advantages and disadvantages here. I think, for the time being, staying out was going to be the better choice. Shariah has gone for the risk. At the moment, he's under pressure from Pingolo here. Less than 0.2 of a second. Pingolo is going to maybe have a go around the right side here. Maybe not. He's going to choose better of it. In towards turns 9 and 10. That was probably a better decision from Pingolo to not be too aggressive there. He's going to have plenty of time to make that move. And as soon as DRS gets open, I have no doubt at the moment he looks like he has the pace to get it done. Cynical at the moment doesn't need to try too hard to get past Lightwork unless he makes a mistake, but he'd like to get the move done on track anyways. Within the slipstream of the Alpine here, he's going to move to the inside. Most likely, he's actually going to try to take the outside. That's a bit of a bold, and Lightwork's going to block off the line through turns 1 and 2. This is allowing Lightwork's teammate of Reimer to enter the fray. It looks like Shariah and Gab may have come together there. Gab is losing positions. He's fallen down to P10. Was side by side with Shariah for what seemed to be a long period of time. Osmanian deep dive down the inside. He collects at least Shariah. Well, I tell you what, Shariah didn't really get collected there, but Pingolo spun around, and now Front wing litters the circuit as Gab is missing quite a hefty bit of the front wing. The AlphaTauri of Osmanian Devil's missing some. Pingolo is also missing some here. It looks like George Mazdaguy, is he the only driver out of that whole conundrum that doesn't have any damage, or at least noticeable damage? Gonna have an easy time getting around the AlphaTauri here. The AlphaTauri, I would watch out. Yeah, he's not going to be able to make that corner. He just simply doesn't have the downforce to do it. What a turn of events. It did look as if Osmanian Devil was quite late on the brakes. Thankfully for Shariah, it doesn't look as if he's got any noticeable damage. He took quite the hit to the side pod. DRS enabled here. Shariah's going to hold on to P6. Now is outside of 2.5 seconds on Slayerized. I'm just thinking with Lightwork doing his best to hold up Cynical here, he's going to lose the spot anyway. Why not allow his teammate to get into this battle as well? Got 10 laps to go. Here in a hectic Australian Grand Prix, as it looks like Osmanian Devil, Pingolo, and Gab all choosing to stop here, naturally as you would. Front wings are going to be going on for the three of them. That means the closest battle on track does occupy the top 4. Reimer's going to have DRS to Cynical here. I think the bigger question is Lightwork is going to be in some trouble with not having DRS to Edwin. Cynical's in a tough spot here because I tell you what, as soon as he gets around Lightwork, he's going to be the one that has to punch through the air and not have the DRS to cope with it. So that's going to be very tricky for the Red Bull to deal with. At the moment, Lightwork not necessarily gaining on Edwin, although not necessarily falling off of Edwin either. But I would assume the Alpine is going to try to hold back the Red Bull here for his teammate to get onto the third step of the podium, perhaps. The second step after penalties applied. The Osmanian Devil within striking distance of Pingolo here. Let's go along with these two for the time being. Tell you what, the McLaren team has not had themselves a great day today. Very much on the struggle bus all day long, ever since the off. And I think this is going to be the nail in the coffin for the race today as far as this team is concerned. Well, at the moment, Osmanian Devil isn't necessarily close enough to make anything happen, and is only slightly gaining with DRS. Yeah, not really. So it's 0.4 of a second between Cynical and Lightwork here as they make their way through 9 and 10. Edwin, I'd actually be slowing here. Yeah, he's losing slightly some time to Edwin. Or to Lightwork, rather. I tell you what, Cynical is, I think, I don't want to say he's on the ropes here, but he has a lot of struggling, I think, left to do here. Hey, what, Lightwork's actually starting to pull away from him outside of 0.8 of a second there temporarily. That would have been a huge there for those two. Looks like Osmanian Devil gets around Pingolo through 9 and 10. How the hell has he done that? Well, Pingolo's going to try to strike back down the inside. In towards turn 11 they go, and Pingolo's going to back out of it. I think that was probably the better option to be had there. He didn't want to run into him and cause another accident. What a move from Osmanian Devil to make that happen. That's brilliant. It's like, again, those two, that time, trading places into turn 1. Osmanian's going to pick up 3 seconds for multiple warnings. I believe that's going to... Well, actually, no, he is at 3. That's right, he had the 5 seconds. He got taken off at the pit stop. Yep, that's right. So Reimer here now within 0.2 of a second of Cynical as they make their way through 11. Tell you what, this is going to be the best opportunity for Reimer so far. He's going to have to make the move quick. He's running out of laps to do so. Shariah now within 1.3 of Slayerized, although Slayerized falling back behind this top 4 battle quite quickly, has to be said. So that'll promote Shiraya to 5th, but other than that, the gamble will slightly have failed, really. And he's not going to have DRS again, so he's going to have to just reel him in through the rest of the first sector and midway through the second as well. Half a second between these two. Oh, a little bit of frame rate loss there, not ideal. And we have a yellow flag. Osmanian Devil has crashed. Coming out of, can we go along with Gab to see? This is about to be into the pit lane. No, he spun it off to the outside. And the safety car is out on track. With this time by, really not having much time left. It'll be 7 laps to go this next time by. Soft tires going on for Gab. What does Edwin, Lightwork, and Cynical decide to do here? This is a massively stressful situation here as far as this top 4 is concerned. Slayer Eyes as well, not going to lie. Shiraya's sitting pretty at the moment. And the top 4 are on their way in. So double stacks for both the teams. Edwin comes in, mediums for him. Softs for the first Alpine. The second Red Bull on softs, and softs for Reimer. So Edwin has gone to the mediums. His teammate and the 2 Alpines have gone soft. Slayer Eyes to softs as well. Shiraya also to softs. That surprises me. Shiraya was on the mediums anyways. Decides to bite the bullet and pit for the softs here. And in hopes of being on level pegging. But I tell you what, I think I would have taken track position over that. That will leave, I think, Edwin at a pretty sizable disadvantage here come the end of the safety car. The only driver on the grid to choose the medium tires. Let's have a look at the penalties now. Mazda guy at 8 seconds. He sped into the pit lane. That's why he's gone up. Lightwork at 3. That happened well earlier on. Probably 10 laps ago at this point, at least. I assume the safety car will not be in this lap. Probably next time by is when we're going to get the message. This is going to be an interesting turn of events here when we get back to green. Well, that's a lot of... what do you call it? That's a lot of lag about there. So Slayer Eyes has left the session. Yikes. Not ideal there. Two McLarens making their way out of... what's happened there? Something happened with Gab as he spun? I'm not sure, but he's well behind. Slayer Eyes is rejoined here. As the grid follows the Mercedes safety car around the circuit once more. Assume it comes in on lap 26. We have 4 laps of racing left. Only 2 of which will contain DRS. Make their way through Sector 2 now. I would assume safety car is going to be in at the tail end of this lap. If not, I'd be right surprised. still haven't gotten the message. Taking its merry time, and finally, safety car decides to come in. So Edwin on the mediums, the rest of the grid on the softs. Light work on 3 seconds of penalty. He's going to need to get away well here. He's been caught hanging on the last 2 safety car restarts. Let's see what he does. Edwin is going to really back around the grid even more than he did the last 2 times, and he's going to wait a very long time. Back to green flag here. 4 laps to go as the field will fan out behind them. Lightwork had a Reimer had a peek down to the inside of Cynical through turn 1. Didn't really have the ability to make it happen. Mazdaguy and Pingolo were side by side, and I think Pingolo has perhaps gone off track. Cynical trying to get to Lightwork here. He doesn't want to overtake Lightwork as far as on track. He doesn't want to take the risk. He would rather do it in penalties. Well, I hate to say that. I doubt he would like to do it on penalties. I think overtaking him on track would be the better option, but I think Cynical would settle for the position either which way. The top 4 really get away well from Slayerized and the rest of the grid here. It's a quarter of a second between Edwin and Lightwork as they make their way through 9 and 10. Behind him, the other Red Bull and the other Alpine is well battling. Reimer's gotten much better acceleration to turn 10. Down to the inside. Reimer's going to have the better line. And yes, Reimer will take the spot. Moves himself to 3rd. After penalties applied, will most likely take 2nd. Never mind back-to-back podiums, looking for back-to-back 2nd places here. Had one last week. I tell you what, led a lot of that Silverstone Grand Prix. Unfortunately, the powerhouse of Lancey was too much, as now, down to the inside, Lightwork, does he have a look? No. He has set the fastest lap of the session. His teammate behind him, I would say, is not faster at the moment, although Lightwork down to the inside. Is he going to get the spot through turn 3? Contact made! The Red Bull slides around. Lightwork does take the spot. That, if anything, opens the door for Reimer. Lightwork has just turned himself into a martyr there, has to be said. Even if he picks up a penalty for what seemed like a bump and run, he's got a 3-second penalty anyways. He's most likely going to be losing, he's definitely going to be losing the win, if not the podium as well. That has really opened the door for his teammate here. It's all going to be a matter of if Reimer can find a move around Edwin. They're going to look side by side through 9 and 10. This is going to be the opportunity. They make contact. The Red Bull goes around. Reimer DNFs, collects his teammate. And now, in one hell of a turn of events, Slayerized is on pace to win the Grand Prix. Well, Cynical was one of the Red Bulls, I don't remember if it was Cynical or Edwin, was side by side with the Alpine of Lightwork. Reimer had nowhere to go, went right into the back of the Red Bull spinning. Unbelievable turn of events there, and Slayerized, under pressure from Shariah Coleslaw within 0.8 of a second, 2 laps to go for what will be the win. 2 drivers that not long ago really did not seem like they were in any position to finish on the podium at all. Never mind winning the Grand Prix here. It's a 2.5 seconds that Lightwork needs to get out ahead of Slayerized in this next lap and a half to keep the win. For now, all eyes are on Shariah. Can he get into and stay with it? And there it is! Slayerized has picked up a 3-second time penalty that could hand the win of the Grand Prix over to Shariah. I don't know how many warnings Shariah is on. I would assume he's at least 2. You know, I could be wrong, but you can see he's really trying to take it slow now. Reimer has dropped back again, now under pressure from the McLaren of Gab. So it's 2 seconds between Lightwork and Slayerized. Can we just look at the gap from leader back? And there it is. Shariah is within 1/10 of a second of winning the Grand Prix, but he needs to stay within 3 seconds of Lightwork. Final lap of the Grand Prix here. Shariah is going to have DRS. That's going to help him a lot. Very wiggly over the first corner there. 3.4 the gap at the moment. Lightwork will be only losing. He only needs 0.3 of a second to stay ahead of Slayerized. He may do it. Lightwork now, 2.9, making his way through Sector 2. He's purple Sector 1 at the moment. Lightwork, I think, is going to do it here. Jiraiya will be promoted up to second if the result stands, but Lightwork 3.3 ahead of Slayerized. Cynical picks up 3 seconds of penalty. 5 seconds for speeding into the pit lane, then retires from the session. But at the moment, it will be Lightwork taking this win. He has 4.8 seconds back to Jiraiya. That will be all he needs. And now, coming out of the final 2 corners, 5 laps ago you would have called me crazy for saying this, NFS Lightwork will win the Australian Grand Prix. It will be Jiraiya finishing second after penalties applied. Slayerized somehow will take third. Reimer fourth. I have no idea what just happened. Again, it was just... Well, I know exactly what happened. That the Red Bull and the Alpine went side by side. One happened into another, and... Well, there you go. So after it's all said and done here in Melbourne, it's Lightwork taking the win, Jiraiya second, Slayerized third, Reimer fourth, the McLaren of Gab and Pingolo 5th and 6th, Mazda Guy 7th. Cynical did not finish the Grand Prix, retired on the final lap. Edwin didn't finish as well. And P10 to P15 all did not finish the Grand Prix. And next week, well, it's a bit of a toss-up. Have they fixed Spain with this most recent update? They had a very wild car-flying bump in the final sector since the last update. There was an update today. Did they fix it? We're not quite sure. It's either going to be Spain or it's going to be Hungary next time out for round 6. Hotspot's been a pleasure joining you here in Monkey Mafia Esports. We'll see you next time.